Am I the a-hole to divorce my husband and leave him with the kid after finding out? I'm not biologically the mom. I can't believe my life has come to this. All I ever do is go out of my way to help others, but on the few occasions I need help, nobody ever comes through for me. I have been with my husband for almost 10 years, married for 7. We had what I thought was my child by a surrogate over 2 years ago because, after 4 years of trying to conceive with no success despite medical interventions, it turns out I am unable to carry a child to term. I had always wanted to be a mom. Devastated is an understatement regarding how I felt when I found out I have a medical condition that makes it nearly impossible to carry a baby to term. It was even more upsetting when I had to undergo major surgery to remove uterine growths in hopes of increasing fertility, only to face complications during surgery that warranted a partial hysterectomy involving the removal of my uterus. I still had my ovaries, so we started looking into the cost of a surrogate. It was really expensive. My close friend since college, who'd already had 2 kids of her own, offered to serve as the surrogate for us to cut down on costs. After 2 disappointing IVF sessions that did not result in pregnancy, she became pregnant on the 3rd try and carried a boy to term for us. I was so happy and busy after the birth, balancing being a mom and returning to work after a 4-week parental leave, that I didn't notice any warning signs. I should have noticed the red flags and warning signs early on, but I did not because I was so exhausted from working so much at my stressful job and 2 part-time jobs to cover most of the bills and anticipated medical and legal costs associated with my friend becoming our surrogate. I was the primary breadwinner. My friend and my husband started talking more, and I would sometimes come home from my weekend job to find her already hanging out at our house when my husband was there. I chalked it up as innocuous, thinking it was good for her to know my husband better since she was in the process of hopefully carrying our child for us. I was grateful to have someone helping us have a child. I also thought it was weird that our son has brown eyes when both of us have blue eyes. Then I found out that, while this is uncommon, it is possible sometimes due to the many genes controlling eye color. Recently, it all came to a head when I took our son to a doctor's appointment. They did a metabolic panel and blood tests, which showed that he had a blood type that is not biologically possible with me as his mother. He's B+, I'm A+, and my husband is O+. Immediately, I started worrying it was the fertility clinic's fault, and that they'd messed up and implanted the wrong embryo. I started lining up lawyer consultations to possibly sue the clinic and looked into having a DNA parentage test done. The test results showed that I'm not the mother, but my husband still is the father. I was heartbroken and angrier than ever, and I talked to lawyers about medical malpractice in the fertility clinic we'd used. Then my husband confessed that he'd slept with my friend, our surrogate, on a few different occasions during our struggle to have her get pregnant with our embryos. This means that what I thought was our son conceived by IVF and carried by a surrogate isn't my son at all, and was, in fact, conceived the old-fashioned way, which I can't ever do. Livid and absolutely broken at the same time doesn't even begin to describe how I feel. I have been breaking down into crying spells over and over again. He claims he didn't ever think pregnancy could result because he pulled out, and he had always assumed that he was the reason for our earlier struggles to conceive, both before my hysterectomy and during the IVF insemination process with this friend. I felt an immediate triple betrayal, from what was supposed to be my husband, my friend, and now knowing my child isn't even really mine. I had such white-hot rage and delirium that I immediately left home and stayed at a hotel for almost a week before asking my parents to let me stay at home for a while. I admit I left our son with him. I am now filing for divorce because he cheated and betrayed me in the worst possible way. I have also cut off my friendship with my friend, the surrogate, and I feel afraid to trust anyone else now. I have seen a divorce lawyer to see about giving up my legal rights to this kid so I don't have to face such betrayal or owe child support. My husband and friend surrogate admit they were wrong and keep apologizing, but also called me immature and heartless for just giving up on my son like that. My parents also say I can't just give up on a kid that I went through so many legal and medical hoops to have. When I told them I refused to stay in a cheating marriage and I'd rather adopt someday with a better, more trustworthy partner, they also told me I was wrong, and that maintaining my parental rights isn't much different than if I adopted outright. They said it isn't blood that makes a family. They are all for me divorcing my cheating husband, but keep telling me I'm making a mistake by giving up my parental rights. Some of my other friends agree with what I'm doing. A few admitted they weren't big enough to swallow their pride and care for an affair baby, or to see daily reminders of my friend surrogate's betrayal every time I look at her son. I just want a clean break and a fresh start. I'm also looking at relocating several states away. AITA for giving up my parental rights in the divorce because a kid I paid a lot of money to have born via surrogacy isn't biologically mine at all, but the surrogates. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom that I'm in fact scared of her stepson? For some context, my mom has been with my stepdad for 5 years, I think. Me and my stepbrother only moved both in with them last year, as he was living with his grandparents, and so was I. Ever since I met him, he has been telling me that he loves me. No, not in a platonic way. And asking me if I want to be his girlfriend out of the blue. I always play it off with a laugh or a quick no. He won't leave me the F alone. Every time I am at home, he is knocking on my door, walls, or even opening the door slightly to just look at me while breathing weirdly. I find it really odd, and that behavior creeps me out. Anyways, he is a pro at making me have panic attacks, cause one time he literally slid his hand down there while holding me in a way I couldn't move, or one other time where he pushed me onto the bed and got between my legs holding them apart. Like, I'm sorry, but I don't think that's normal sibling behavior. Does this guy think we are in some kind of step-siblings corn or something? Yesterday I called my mom to ask if my stepbrother was home so I could take a shower. She told me he wasn't, and when I went to check he was home, so I went back into my room and didn't take a shower. Later on she snapped at me asking me if I was scared of him, because I wouldn't leave my room if he was in the house. Whenever she asks me that, I always say I am not, as I don't really like confrontations, but I was tired, and told her that yes, I was scared of him, that he was creepy and annoying. She kept asking what I meant by it, but I kept refusing to tell her as it is hella embarrassing to me. She got mad at me for saying that he's a creep and told me that he was just joking, and that his mom leaving him affected him that bad, that he doesn't know how to act around women. The last time I told her what he did, she dismissed me saying he was just joking. I think we have different views on what a joke is. Edit. For people asking for more details, I'm sorry I didn't go into details. Here is some additional information for y'all. Even before I moved in, he was already all over my mom saying that I was beautiful after my mom showed him a Polaroid of me. It's not a needed thing, but just so you know, I wasn't the main focus on the Polaroid. It's weird to say that, but I was wearing a low-cut pink shirt as it was an outfit to go see Barbie with my friends, and I had my hand on my face, so I doubt he thought I was pretty. When I first met him, I was next to him and my mom on my phone, but then my mom got up to make us dinner. We both stayed there. He suddenly gets up and gets in my face asking if I had a boyfriend. I told him I did, and he asks me if I would date him if I didn't. I get awkward and just laugh it off with a quick no. Now every time we are alone and I'm sitting down, he gets in my face and puts his hands on my shoulders. One day he almost kissed me because of that. I always try to get him off, but please understand that this is not your average men. This guy looks over 200 pounds and is taller than his father. His father is 6.0F'd or something like that. To compare, I am 5.2F'd and 95 pounds. There is no way I would win in a fight, at least not with the strength I have. There was another time, this being in front of my mom, that he hugged me from behind and literally grabbed my boob with his hand. He has some addiction with picking me up, because as soon as I get close to him, he immediately picks me up. I try to kick or punch him, but he simply won't let go. This happens a lot in front of my mom, and it does look like a joke, I get it, but not when you're trying to kiss me in the middle of it. Should I leave my husband? I, 30F, have been with my husband, 31M, for 13 years, married for almost 3. We have 2 children together. At the beginning of our relationship, it was great for a few weeks before he became really controlling and paranoid. I lost my circle of friends and acquaintances and fell out of touch with my 2 closest friends because his jealousy, questioning, and arguments were unbearable whenever I spoke to or saw them, or anyone for that matter. I even had to send proof that I was at work because he didn't believe me and thought I was out cheating on him. I never cheated, never gave him a reason not to trust me. In fact, I gave up pretty much my whole life for him. After a few years, it settled. I assume this is because I didn't go anywhere, aside from work, or speak to anyone. I went on a work night out one time, and when I got home, because I didn't want to be intimate with him, he punched me in the side 3 times in succession. He's never hit me since then, and it was a one-off. I am now in contact with my 2 close friends and have been since my first pregnancy. Anyway, fast forward, he's working all hours at the office and then at home, which was fine until we welcomed our first child. I felt so lonely and overwhelmed. He promised he would try to work more favorably around us, but it didn't work out that way. He also treats me like a servant in that I have to do all household chores. Apart from taking out the bins and occasionally doing the washing up, he also bathes the children every night. We got married, and I told him 9 months before the wedding that I refused to marry him if he didn't change his ways. He did, and desperately wanted another child after the wedding. I expressed concerns that it would be a lot for me with 2 children, a full-time demanding job and all of the cooking, cleaning, laundry, etc. But he assured me he would help. I gave in and we had our daughter. He lives a good life, going on long city breaks with friends, attending regular football and rugby matches, going out for meals, etc. But I don't go anywhere because it's not planned far enough in advance, or it's too spontaneous because it's the same or next day. I get 100 questions and am made to feel guilty that the time could have been used to spend as a family. To me, it just seems like he doesn't want a solo parent for a few hours. When I've occasionally had to travel for one night for work, or when I recently had a hospital stay, I prepare all the children's clothes, pack their bags, arrange childcare, and ensure there's food he is capable of cooking. Oven food, nothing from scratch. He wanted to throw our kitchen bin out recently because he said it was dirty. I told him to clean it, but he said I needed to because cleaning is my job. He told me not long ago he didn't know how to peel an orange for our daughter just because he couldn't be bothered. I asked him the other day to put the leftovers from dinner into a tub, and he had a hissy fit saying he didn't know how and that it was my job and should have been done when I was plating the dinner. I would also like to add that he is the messiest person I know. He leaves things everywhere, and it drives me crazy. I'm constantly cleaning up after him. He's worse than the children. I don't feel attracted to him anymore, and I'm not sure I even love him like I used to. To be quite frank, I feel like a doormat who's being walked all over. He often questions me about why we don't have sex more regularly, but I'm exhausted and overwhelmed, doing pretty much everything by myself, and the fact that he acts like a child is quite the turnoff. I should mention I have fibromyalgia and ME. I had abdominal surgery 4 weeks ago, but I'm still the one responsible for everything. I feel like I've reached my limit with him. I grew up in an abusive home and then a broken home. I have no contact with my father. My one wish in life was to have a family where everyone felt loved and appreciated, and for my children to have the same mom and dad who stay together forever. I don't want to take that away from them. I really don't know what to do. He works hard and earns more than I do, so he contributes more than I can to the household, etc. He's a great father when he's present, and I just don't know if I'm being dramatic. Do you think that things could change and get better, or should I make the hard decision to leave?